Okay, YouTube, this is my first in a series of videos that I'm doing on solving word problems. And what we're going to do in these videos is essentially look at some strategies that we have for solving these things because they tend to be really intimidating for a lot of people. So let's go ahead and talk about what strategies we have here. As a matter of fact, I've got a 5-step process we can walk through when we look at these problems, okay? So what I want to do is actually just walk through this set of steps as we look at this first problem, and in my next videos we'll go a little bit more quickly. But we say step one is always going to be this: read the problem carefully, sometimes several times, until we can state in our own words what is given. Okay, so we want to know what is given and what the problem is looking for. So these are the two essential things. What do I know already, and what is it that we are looking for? Now notice here it says let x, it could be any variable really, but let x represent one of the unknown quantities in the problem. And then step two will be, if necessary, write expressions for the other unknown quantities in terms of x. So the very first thing we want to do after we read through this is underline what we know, look at what we don't know and what we want to find, and then allow x to represent some quantity, and that'll be the first thing we do, is define that variable. So let us go ahead and look at this problem here. It says 3 of the bars in this figure over here represent the median starting salaries of education, computer science, and econ majors. So you can see in this figure over here we have the median starting salaries for U.S. college graduates, and we're referring to computer science, economics, and ed majors. Okay, a little decline here, but this is their median starting salary. Notice this is in thousands of dollars. So as we read through this, it says the median starting salary of a computer science major exceeds that of an ed major by $21,000. So this is very important to us. We say computer science, what they make exceeds that of an ed major by $21,000. Okay, and exceeds, it's just going to be more than. Okay, we have the median starting salary of an econ major exceeds that of an ed major by $14,000. So we have econs graduating with a median starting salary that exceeds that of an ed major by 14 grand. We have combined, this is kind of an important word here, combined their median starting salaries are 140,000. So 140,000 is an important quantity. So now usually the last sentence here kind of gives you an indication of what it is that you're looking for, but it says determine the median starting salaries of ed majors, computer science majors, and econ majors with bachelor's degrees. So essentially go find out how much they make individually if you know how much they make combined and how they compare to one another. So for this first part, we need to choose some unknown quantity to be represented by x. And so what I'm inclined to do here is this. I'm inclined to say, let's let x equal the median starting salary for ed majors. And the reason why I say I'm going to let x be for the ed majors is because I noticed that up here I could have said let x be the median starting salary for computer science because I didn't know that, or median starting salary for economics majors because I didn't know that either. But I noticed that in either case, computer science was compared to an ed major and economics are compared to an ed major. So when we write expressions for each of those, we can write them in terms of x. So now that I know that ed majors make x as a median starting salary a year as they start out, we can say that ed majors, let's say education, is equal to x dollars a year. What I want to do is come up with a couple of expressions that would show how much computer science majors make with respect to ed majors. So we say computer science, comp sci, is equal to, now what we were told was it is 21,000 more than an ed major, and we're saying, well, the ed majors make x. So really this would be x plus 21. And if we look at an econ, economics, they were 14,000 more than an ed major. So now we have 3 expressions here that essentially tell us how we can compare how much they make to an ed major, where ed majors is this x right here. So now, step 2, we said if necessary, write expressions for any other unknown quantities in the problems in terms of x. That's what we've just accomplished here. Once we get that though, step 3 is just going to be basically write an equation in x that models the verbal conditions of the problem. Well, in terms of the verbal conditions of the problem, what we were told is if we combine all of these 3 expressions right here, combine them, then their median starting salaries are 140,000. So in other words, we could look at it this way. We could say education plus comp sci plus econs has to come out to be a combined total of 140,000. So now going back and just substituting expressions for these, well, we know education majors make x. Compared to education majors, we know that computer science majors were x plus 21. And then we say economics majors were x plus 14. This should come out to be 140 grand. And the nice thing about having your equation set up from just this verbal argument is that now we can actually go solve this equation for the unknown, which in this case is going to be x. So step 4 here says now that we have an equation set up in terms of x, we can solve the equation and answer the problem's question. So solving this, I noticed that I can solve this just like any other equation. I can combine like terms, so we have 3 total x's. Combining the constants here, 21 and 14 comes out to be 35, so we say plus 35 is a total combined of 140. We'll just solve this now for x, or this unknown thing that we've defined as being an ed major's starting median salary. So we say this is 105, and divide that by 3. I think that is 35. Okay. So what we were able to just determine is this, that education majors, they make $35,000 a year. 35,000. Okay, now that we know x, we can actually go substitute that back in for any x up here, where we've just done this with x here. We could do it for now our comp sci and our also economics. So we'd say that computer science, since they make 21,000 more median per year, we'd say that there would be 56. So we'd say this is in 56 in thousands. So we say thousands. Okay, and then we say 35 plus 14 would be 49 for our econ graduates. So 49,000. Okay. So this last step that you see over here, this is just kind of a suggestion here, but it says check the solution in the original wording of the problem, not in the equation obtained from words. What if we made a mistake in our equation? So looking at these, if I were to say that an ed major makes 35,000, okay, and that a comp sci major makes 56,000, and that economics makes that many thousand, we could say, let's add these up. 35 plus 56 plus 49. We can see that we do get totally 140 there. So in the next video, we'll go a little bit more quickly through the steps here. But that's essentially what we're going to do, is define a variable x, express things in terms of x, set up an equation from a verbal model, solve that equation, then